Hey everyone, welcome. This is another edition of True Crime. Wow, I can't even say it right. True Crime and Wine with yours truly, Andrea Nelson. Thank you so much for tuning in. We have some really interesting stories to cover. And so I'm going to play my old school intro and be right back. Welcome. Let's get into these true crime stories that I selected to talk about. First of all, before I get into this true crime and wine, I want to thank every single one of my old school subscribers, those who have been around from when I first started my channel about a year ago, last July, everyone who's followed since then, and all of my new subscribers who have just kind of joined the family. We are Andrea's Angels. Okay. We fly high. We got high vibrations going on up in here. So I just wanted to say thank you so much for everyone who supported this channel, whether it was through a view, a share, a like, or participating in the chat, which is something that I always really encourage and appreciate. So, if I stumble over these words, this is a disclaimer. This is true crime and wine. So, clink, clink. This is like glass number 3 and still consuming. So, let's get into this. This headline says, "Hey, oh my goodness, the doll. I have not seen you in so long. I am so glad that you are here. Glad I caught a live show again. Hi, beautiful cousin. Hi, beautiful cousin. Thank you so much for showing up. I hope you're doing well and living your best life. I certainly do." So, this title says that a mom was told that her daughter overdosed in February. Now, police are saying that the boyfriend internally decapitated her, and her name was DeAndrea Funches. She was found unresponsive on February 15th, and her family has just found out that the police alleged that her boyfriend was responsible. You are so amazing too, and so beautiful, and thank you so much for all your high energy tonight and every other night that I've seen you. Let me remove this thing from the corner because it's actually in my way. One moment, you guys. I'm going to take this off here. This is a late night creep. All right, so this story says 6 months after the mother of his children died from what he claimed was a drug overdose, an Ohio man behind bars accused of allegedly beating the victim so severely that she was internally decapitated. Mm, that's just beyond severe. A statement from Cincinnati police confirms Mazeo Arnold, 25, was arrested and charged with murder on Wednesday. Investigators allege he caused the injuries that led to the death of a 24-year-old, DeAndrea Funches. She was found unresponsive on February 5th in a Hartwell home. Shout out to the writer of this story named Chris Harris from People True Crime. This story came out just a couple of days ago on July 15th. According to court records obtained by WXIX, the alleged attack on Funches Arnold's live-in girlfriend was so intense it caused the ligaments of her spine column to be separated from the base of her skull, an injury known as occipital dislocation. What a gruesome attack. This is severe. It's alleged in the court filings that Arnold told authorities and Funches' family that she had died from a drug overdose. Still, the investigation into the death of Funches, a nursing home worker, continued. Eventually, medical examiners determined the cause of her death was homicidal violence. Yes. For someone's neck to be decapitated, for someone to have decapitation internally, that's I just can't even. I'm trying to wrap my mind around this homicide. Arnold is being held on $750,000 in bail. He has not entered a plea to the single charge against him, and it was unclear Friday who his attorney might be. He'll probably have a public defender, just my guess. Bernadette Davis, which is Funches' mother, told WXIX that she and Arnold continued speaking after her daughter's death. She had no idea he was a suspect until she learned of his arrest. It's really a shocker right now to find out he's responsible for this, Davis said, adding Arnold's suggestion that Funches died of an overdose never sat right with me. And you see, a mother's intuition should always be trusted. From day one, it never made sense to me, she added. Davis told the station that she wants people to know her daughter was not only the life of the party, but with a name like DeAndrea, I mean, hello. But this is really sad, but had turned her life around for her children's sake. The case is still being investigated, and those with any information about the attack that killed Funches is urged to call 513-352-3542. Oh, wow. How we live in a dangerous time where people have no compassion for each other. Yeah, you're right, Zadal. That's why we have to continue to have compassion for ourselves and one another. And this is his profile, his arrest. I don't want to sit and stare at this too long, but you can tell there's something off about him. You know, for those of us who are very sensitive to the spirits, we can just see when some things are off. You know, to me, my opinion, take it or leave it, but he is a complete sociopathic, pathological liar. For him to still be in contact with the family, knowing that he brutally beat this woman, until she died is just wild. It's wild. And I always see this, people look so dead and gone in the eyes. You know, the eyes are the windows to the soul. Sometimes you'll see in people like one eye will look okay, and then the other eye may look off, or sometimes both eyes just look completely blank. He's giving me that blank look. He looks a little scared as well, but it's only because he got caught, and he thought he got away with it. So this next story involves Alex Murdaugh. This name sounds so familiar. I know he's an attorney. I don't know what state he resides, but we're certainly going to find out. Shout out to Steve Helling, who wrote the story. Now this, okay, I'm going to really try to read through the story and be super, super objective and just cut to the chase of it all. So Alex Murdaugh, I don't know how to say that name, but I'm just going to say how I say it, allegedly lured his wife to cabin on night she was killed. And she texted a friend and said her husband was acting a little fishy. Mm-hmm. That wine is so good. Murdaugh was charged Thursday in connection with the 2021 murder of his wife and son, who are seen in this picture here. But his lawyers say that he's innocent. Of course they would say that. And shout out again to Steve Helling, who wrote this article on July 15th. On the evening of June 7, 2021, Alex Murdaugh allegedly reached out to his wife, Maggie, asking her to meet him at the family's 1,770-acre estate in the small town of Island 10, South Carolina. According to a law enforcement source close to the investigation, Alex told Maggie that his 81-year-old father, Randolph Murdaugh III, was in failing health and that she needed to see him before he died. According to several sources, Maggie and Alex had hit a rough patch in their marriage, and she was staying at the family's beach house on Edisto Island, approximately an hour away from the family's estate. The law enforcement home. Wow, see, the wine is okay. The law enforcement tells people that Maggie initially declined to meet Alex at the family home, suggesting instead that they meet at the hospital. Ultimately, she consented to meet at the property, planning to follow Alex to the hospital in her own vehicle. On her way to the house, Maggie allegedly messaged a friend saying that something about her husband's behavior felt fishy. The law enforcement source says he's up to something, Maggie allegedly wrote her friend. When Maggie arrived at the scene, she left her car running and walked to the dog kennels on the estate where her son Paul was taking photos of a dog he was. Now, this son on the left here is the one that was allegedly murdered by the father. So we have the wife and the son who were on the furthest left, allegedly were murdered. I don't know what happened to the younger son here. But Paul was shot in the chest and head with a shotgun at close range. Maggie was shot multiple times, including one shot in the back and additional shots while she was lying on the ground. She had been shot with a .300 blackout ammo from an AR-style rifle. Both of them were pronounced dead at the scene. Authorities have not officially released who they believe the gunman was, but on Thursday of this week, they charged Murdaugh, who is 54, every bit of 94 in the face, with 2 counts of murder and 2 counts of possession of a weapon during the commission of a violent crime. He will be arraigned next week. Investigators with the South Carolina Enforcement Division, SLED, have not divulged which evidence they have, but the law enforcement source tells people blood splatter allegedly found on Alex Murdaugh's clothes indicates he was at the scene at the time of the murder and not visiting his father at the hospital as he claimed. Murdaugh's attorneys have not returned people's calls for comment, but they maintain his innocence in a statement. Quote, Alex wants his family, friends, and everyone to know he did not have anything to do with the murder of Maggie and Paul, his attorneys wrote. He loved them more than anything in the world. Oh, Murdaugh was an attorney. See, I don't know what state, but he's just barred from practicing law. Murdaugh faces more than 85 criminal charges. This is him. Look at that little smirk on his little flat lips. Oh! See, people like Murdaugh think that they are going to get away with anything. You could just tell, hey, McClurg, how you doing, girl? Girl, I'm just up here just doing this late night true crime and wine, enjoying myself. How are you doing? Did you get rest today? I hope you did. This man looks like he knows. He's so confident that he's going to get away with everything. That little smirk on them little flat lips that he has, and trying to look masculine and tough with that brow line, and his eyes again look so flat. His affect is so flat in this photo. But this is him. Oh, good, McClurg. I'm so glad. So glad. So most of the charges that he's facing right now are for financial crimes, including misappropriating money from his law firm, defrauding clients of funds, and computer crimes. For an attorney, what a shame. What a shame. Que lástima. Authorities alleged that he has also defrauded the family of his former housekeeper of $4.5 million on an insurance settlement after she died in a mysterious slip and fall accident at his home. Now, do we think this is now an accident? Or do we suspect that this was allegedly another murder? After the murders of his wife and son, Murdaugh made news again when he allegedly tried to stage his own death so that his one surviving son, Buster, what would you name your son, Buster? Buster Murdaugh, who's 26, could benefit from a $10 million life insurance settlement. He was criminally charged in connection with the alleged botched suicide for hire plot and is awaiting trial in that case. So allegedly he's a dum-dum diggy. But he's an attorney, so he has to have some kind of smarts to him, but I just think evidently he's a dum-dum ditty. Hello, Kimiko. Welcome. It's so good to see you. How are you doing? Happy birthdays to your son, oldest and youngest. I hope they enjoyed their special days. Everyone's greeting each other in the chat, as we are accustomed to doing here. According to prosecutors, he has his associate Curtis Eddie Smith shoot him on the side of the road, but the shooter, okay. This is like a TV show. He had his friend, his law firm associate, shoot him on the side of the road so that they could fake his quote unquote suicide. It was unsuccessful, and Murdaugh suffered only superficial wounds. He pleaded not guilty to all the previous charges, and he's currently being held in some prison awaiting trial. Yeah, girl, we try to stay away from the mess, but sometimes we can give our commentary on it, but we don't have to get involved in it. You know what I'm saying? I'm so glad, Kimiko. They deserve the world. They deserve it. This next story kind of is very peculiar. I don't know if you guys have noticed, there's a lot of changes in our emergency response systems. A lot of changes. For example, one time I had to call 911 for one of my clients, and I lived in a different city than where my client lived. Based on my area code, the 911 call went directly to wherever my area code is associated with. And do you know it took so many different transfers for my call to go through to the right dispatcher to get the right county that we needed the ambulance dispatched to? It was nuts. I couldn't even believe it. Back in the day when you would call 911, the call would be just dispatched to the nearest 911 center based on location. Now so many things have changed, and it's just very bizarre to me. And so this story kind of reminds me of that and that incident that happened with my client. And she was having an epileptic seizure and needed emergency response right away. So here we have, in this next story, I know McClurg. Yeah. Just wow. Yeah. Wow, indeed. So the headline says that a 911 dispatcher, she's been charged with allegedly refusing to send an ambulance to help a sick woman. The person who initiated the call said she's going to die, or either the dispatcher said she's going to die. It's not clear in this title who said that, but it must be relevant to the story because it was in the title. Still to this day, I don't know why he didn't send, also it was a he, why he didn't send anyone. Shout out to People True Crime's Corin Cesaric, who wrote this article on July 15th. And I'm assuming that this young lady here in the picture is the daughter of the deceased. And this is a truly awful, awful story. It would have done him no harm to send an ambulance to someone who needed help. So he is a 911 operator who was charged last month with involuntary manslaughter after allegedly refusing to send an ambulance to pick up a 54-year-old woman in Pennsylvania in 2020. She ended up dying from internal bleeding the next day. On July 2020, Kelly Tichenor called 911 to request an ambulance for her mother, Diana Kronk. In the 911 recording, which was provided to People by Lawrence E. Boland Jr., an attorney representing Tichenor in a federal lawsuit filed in June, dispatcher Leon Price seemingly expressed reluctance to send help, unless Tichenor could provide assurance her mother would agree to go in the ambulance. See this? We can't force her to go in an ambulance, Price is heard saying on the call. Later he asks Tichenor to make sure she's willing to go before we send the resource out there in case she says no. On the call, Tichenor, who was on her way to her mother's house after learning of the woman's symptoms from her brother, said her mom's skin was yellow, adding that she was incoherent and making noises while laying in bed. She told Price, "We need to get her to the hospital." When the dispatcher named Leon Price asked if Kronk was willing to go to the hospital, Tichenor said, "She will be, because I'm on the way there. So she's going or she's going to die." However, according to both criminal and civil case against the dispatcher, allegedly did not send help, instead asking Tichenor to call back once she arrived at her mom's residence and could confirm her. What the hell? I'm sorry. What kind of hell? He asked her to call back once she got to the residence so he could confirm that she would be willing to ride in the ambulance. When Tichenor arrived, she said she didn't have a cell phone service to call for an ambulance a second time. Kronk died the next day from internal bleeding. Still to this day, I don't know why he didn't send anybody, because my mom never refused medical treatment that I'm aware of, so I don't understand. Tichenor tells People, adding that she believes 3 ambulances were available. Tichenor tells People she has physical disabilities, so she couldn't lift her mom into the car and take her to get medical care. I had someone coming the next day to take her to the hospital that she would have listened to, but she didn't make it. Oh my God. This is just horrifying. I agree with her. I can't imagine not getting help for your loved one. How horrifying. Yes, Godspeed. Prayers to her and her family. And you can tell by her picture, she's really, really, she's so devastated by this. There's so much confusion in her face because there's no logical explanation for why, if you're calling 911 to get urgent medical help for someone, what if the person is unconscious and can't consent to any medical treatment? Do you then refuse them medical help? No, you expediently provide them with emergency care. You don't deny them and decline them help. Tichenor contacted Boland Jr. in July of 2020 after her mom's death to proceed with a civil lawsuit. This lawsuit was filed last month, and criminal charges followed several days after the suit was filed. This civil lawsuit is saying because Miss Kronk was she was entitled to emergency services, and those were denied for what we're saying was an unconstitutional reason that brought it into federal court. So it's a civil rights violation. Yes, it sure is. In addition to involuntary manslaughter, Price is charged criminally with recklessly endangering another person, official oppression and obstruction of the administration of law or other government function. The Greene County District Attorney Dave Russo tells People, "We brought charges in this matter after reviewing the 911 recording because Mrs. Tichnell expressly stated that her mother was going to die if she did not get medical treatment." He adds, "An ambulance was not dispatched. This violated protocol and it violated the operating guidelines. What right did he have to refuse them medical care? What right and authorization did he have to say that unless she accepts to be transported in an ambulance, I'm not sending help?" He was absolutely wrong and deserves to be punished by every extent of the law, especially as a 911 operator and dispatcher. His job is to dispatch emergency medical help. Emergency help. That's his job. Price, by the first name of Leon, was arraigned and released on a $15,000 bond, according to Russo. It wasn't immediately clear if Leon Price has entered a plea, and People was not able to reach his attorney. It is unclear at this time whether Price is still employed as a 911 operator or if he was fired. "I took legal action," this is the daughter, "because I wanted him held accountable," Tichnell says. "I wanted Greene County to be held accountable. Somebody needed to be held accountable," she adds. "It took 2 years before my lawsuit became public, and before everything was done and ready to be filed, and he was never charged. Nothing ever happened until 2 to 3 days after the federal lawsuit came out, and then the district attorney charged him. The preliminary hearing regarding the charges against Price will be in August, and my hope for the whole thing is that it will never happen to anyone else." Oh my God. This is the final story that we are going to cover tonight. Again, thank you so much for everyone here. I really appreciate you all. I love you all so much. I hope after this live stream that you continue to have a beautiful day. And so, this woman that's seen here drowns her 3 children in a Minnesota lake just hours after her husband's suicide. Police say that they still do not know what motivated this tragic event. Oh my goodness. Hours after her husband died of the S word, he ended his life, a Minnesota woman drowned their 3 children in the lake before ending her own life. On Friday morning at approximately 10:30 a.m., deputies from the Ramsey County Sheriff's Office, along with officers from the Maplewood Police Department, responded to a trailer park call of a possible person ending their lives. A press release states that upon arriving at the Rolling Hills Estate Mobile Home Park, authorities found the remains of Cos Lee. His age and cause of death have not been released. More than 5 hours later, at around 4 p.m., officials responded to a welfare check of the area of the Vandals Sucker Lake Regional Park and Vandals Heights, according to the press release. A welfare check was requested on an adult female with 3 small children. It continues, when deputies and officers arrived on scene, they found a vehicle and other items, which included the children's shoes. The park was closed, and a search was launched for 23-year-old tattoo artist Molly Shang and her children. Around 7:30 p.m. on Friday, a boy's body was recovered from the lake. Shang's body and the remains of her daughter were found on Saturday morning around 11 a.m. All three children referenced are believed to be under the age of 5 or 6 years old. Police have yet to say how Chang died, but they suspect that she ended her own life. The investigation continues into this possible triple murder-suicide at the lake in Minnesota. Detectives have yet to establish a motive for the deaths. If you or someone you know is considering ending your life, please contact the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-TALK. That's 1-800-273-8255. Or you can text the crisis line you can text the word strength to 741-741. Dear loves, we have reached the end of our true crime and wine edition of a late Saturday night. We absolutely send our prayers to all of these innocent folks whose innocent blood was shed for no justified reason. I hope that this first person is absolutely punished to the full extent of the law. We absolutely want justice for all the children, the spouse, right? You guys okay? Thank you, McClurg. I know this is very, very sad, and it's just my job to put this content out, bring awareness to some of these stories that go on, and pray for justice in all of these cases and for all of these people. But with that being said, I want to thank you so much for joining this live. I feel like it was a very intimate setting. My faves are here. Chemical, the doll, McClurg. You all are phenomenal. I want to give a shout out to every single person watching the replay. I thank you so much for supporting this channel. Absolutely. I love you too, McClurg. I'm going to shift gears here because I still have a half glass of wine left. So, hey, Kennedy. There's another case that has come up this week. It is the Ricky Martin's alleged abuse of his sexual abuse and domestic violence abuse of his nephew. Have you guys heard of that? I think that these charges were brought up a while ago, but they couldn't release who the victims were. And so now it's been uncovered that it's actually his nephew. So he's seeing up to 50 years in prison for DV, sexual abuse, and incest. He's claiming that he is innocent. And of course, hey guys, of course, yes, McClurg, Ricky Martin. Of course, I guess the rule in our country is innocent until proven guilty. I appreciate you, Kennedy. I really appreciate you so much. It's always good to see you. But I'm gonna look more into this because I don't know. I feel like I don't have enough information to really give an opinion at this time. But it's something that is like kind of like on the radar, and we're gonna keep our eyes open to what's next. Another thing that's come out, I live in the state of California, and locally, the Knott's Berry Farm was closed because of excessive fighting around the park. I don't know what kind of spirit energy is loose and rampant, but it's very violent. It's very destructive. And if you go to your prayer closet or if you do your meditations, whatever spirituality that you practice, I think it's good to concentrate and focus on truth, justice, and peace. Sometimes we can't predict evil, but what we can do is protect ourselves, our loved ones, and try to live a life that is decent, good, wholesome, healthy, but never cease to pray, I guess is what I'm getting at. Even if you're just randomly going about your day and you're thinking of something that's concerning to you, yes, practice kindness. Pray about those things often. And ask your source, whoever you pray to. I pray to God. But ask your source to show you wisdom, to show you how to live with exercise and compassion and grace towards yourself and towards other people. Remember, we reap what we sow. It's a principle. Yes, McClurg, absolutely. So that's why one of my end sayings is always, please practice abundant self-care. We cannot pour from an empty cup. Please always remember, we are Andrea's angels, and we love you. Be kind to yourselves and be kind to others. It goes such a long way. Be kind to your pets. Be kind to strangers. Smile at a stranger. You never know when you're entertaining one of God's angels. right? I thank you so much. Please share the message. Yes, we are McClurg. We're Andrea's Angels, and we will be back with another broadcast in the very, very, very near future. Now I'm going to continue to unwind with my half glass of wine. But I love you all so much, and I really appreciate you all for just hanging out with me, listening to these true crime stories, and taking them in, and just having an understanding of people's propensity for harming others, and to be consciously aware that that's not the life that we want to live. That's not what we want to project on other people. That's not what we want to have reaping in our lives. We want to reap things of good harvest. We want to reap blessings for our families, ourselves, our children, our friends, our grandchildren, our future children, their children, and their children. That's right, McClurg. So I'm going to get up out of here, but I want to say I love you so much. And you will continue to be blessed and enjoy your self-care Sunday. Bye.